Morning, YouTubers. Yes, I'm going to do a video while driving. I'm starting my new job this morning. I'm actually, this is about the only driving I'll probably do today, maybe, because I'm going to come back to the house and I get to work from home, which I did almost, 2 years, 2 months ago was when I last was working from home. So it's amazing to get back to doing this. I hope I don't go crazy because, there's a little semblance of relaxation when you're driving between patients and getting a chance to listen to things and looking forward to that. So that's not why I'm doing this live. So on documentation, I had a part in it talking about evidence-based practice. I subsequently took that out because I felt like I didn't have enough time to really talk about that, and I wanted to talk about other things related to documentation in the course. And I talked about the three-legged stool of evidence basis. And so there's three components to proving something to be evidence-based. One of those legs is clinician experience. So not just studies, not just research, but also clinician experience. Let's face it, as we grow older, and I now have about 30 years of clinical experience under my belt as a PT. But as we get older, we see enough patients to establish trends and determine that maybe this, that, or the other thing may be true about this group of people that we're with. Case in point, over the years, I learned not quickly, it took me a while. I learned you just don't push a knee replacement patient to get maximum range of motion immediately, because they can't, because of the swelling. So you got to first control the swelling, and you get much better outcomes that way. And a friend of mine who does lymphedema trainings, and he has his own practice for lymphedema. He's had tremendous success from highly restricted patients with knee replacements, where he does lymphedema treatment, and first visits they're getting over 100 degrees because he's treating the problem, the root cause. So anyway, that's evidence-based practice is partly built up by our clinician experience. Another little story. I was a trainer for electrical stimulation and other modalities for a company. And one time I had this patient who had a subluxed glenohumeral joint. And we did a hookup on the shoulder. I was showing a clinician how to do it. And I turned the machine on, turned up the intensity, and the person's humeral head, you could see their humeral head just kind of go whoop, get sucked right back into the socket. And I have to say, I was like a little kid. I knew what it should do, but seeing it actually was just like, wow. Yeah. I confirmed what my book learning taught me, and I better confirmed from my clinical practice an evidence basis for what I was doing. So anyway, that's kind of a long intro to what I want to talk about, related to clinical experience being an important component to determining evidence basis, observation from an individual clinician over time with lots of patients. There's a thread on a very large rehabilitation professional Facebook group that I belong to. Perhaps some of you belong to it too. And a clinician asked innocently if people had seen an uptick in young patients having strokes. And a lot of people are starting to comment on that. This individual clinician had seen in her practice setting, or his, I think it was an anonymous post, more and more young patients that had a stroke. And so the question was posited, two questions. One, did they have COVID? And two, some people brought up the shot. Did they have the shot? And the administrators shut down the conversation. And they've done this before. I had actually posted a video, and you can see it on my YouTube channel, about the vaccine. And yeah, I'll probably be targeted by YouTube algorithm and maybe even individuals about this particular video. But I had posted a video about that very subject matter, was side effects from the COVID shot concerns that individual clinicians were seeing with their eyes, observational data, after people had the shot. And so anyway, the admin for this Facebook group shut down this particular post. No more comments. And somebody posed the question, don't we have a right as clinicians to just question this stuff? And the answer is absolutely. Because if part of evidence basis is observational assessment of an individual clinician over time, seeing patterns and trends, not just to their treatment, but maybe to medical trends, because we're all, if you've got a license as a medical clinician, you are a smart individual. Now there are smarter and there are less smart ones, but if you've made it that far, you've got to have some inherent intelligence. So my point is, in this video that I'm rambling about right now, but I don't care. If you watch this, you might not care either. Don't we have a right to talk about these things as rehab professionals? And frankly, I have seen an uptick myself in young stroke patients in home health, either post-COVID or post-COVID shot. It doesn't matter which one. And I've seen older patients with upticks in that. We have a right to question, like let's say a patient had a COVID shot and within a few days or even a couple weeks, they develop neurological problems. We have a right to bring that up and question it, because the long-term side effects of these shots are not known, and it's only through individuals collecting individual data that we can say, yeah, there's clearly an association. Correlation does not equal causation. So just because there's an uptick in strokes after the shot doesn't necessarily mean it's the cause. But if you get enough data behind it, you can say, okay, the relative risk of young stroke went up 90%, let's say. Like let's say they took 1,000 people ages 40 to 50. That would be a young stroke. 40 to 50, 1,000 people. And they had two groups, those who received the vaccine, those who did not. And they said, okay, of those that did not receive the vaccine, out of 1,000 of mixes in population, various ethnic backgrounds, etc., we saw 5 strokes happen. But in the 1,000 people that had the COVID vaccine, we saw, let's just make it easy, 20 people had a stroke in that range within a designated time from the shot. Let's just say it's a month. That means that the relative risk of having a stroke in the ages of 40 to 50, the relative risk would be 400% higher. Now, I'm not making this up, folks, because that's how those who have made the vaccine, those who are pushing the vaccine, are ascribing such high success rates to the vaccine. I saw this, I took my kids to the Science Museum about a week and a half ago, And while in the Science Museum, there was a big jumbotron displaying facts about the vaccine, and they were saying that of this group, these people got the vaccine. Only these number got the actual COVID infection, and then of the control group, this many, and the relative and the reduction in contraction of COVID was 95% or something like that. They were comparing relative risk. So what does that mean? That means that like 5, I think it was 6 people got COVID after getting the shot versus 100 and something got COVID without the shot out of 1,000 people. And so they said they touted 95% effectiveness rate because they were comparing the 6 versus the slightly over 100. That's called relative risk. So my scenario that I made up is not inaccurate. So we have a right to question this because that's how the pharmaceutical companies gauge clinical effectiveness is relative risk. That's how we should gauge whether or not the shot is dangerous or not to cause certain conditions. And we have a right as clinicians with individual observation of multiple patients to determine maybe there is a risk and further study is warranted. And it's okay to discuss this stuff. But no, some people don't want to discuss it. And they therefore deny one of the very legs of evidence-based practice. All right. Anyway, I'm going to go. Wish me blessings on my first day of my new job. Perhaps I'll talk about it on this channel because nobody has come forward wanting to take over this channel as the new rehab and documentation guru. I might make a separate video, but I have an idea of what I might change this channel to. And I know it's probably a good portion of my channel subscribers probably won't like it. But there might be a good portion that do. So I might do something separate about that particular subject. Anyway, take care. God bless.